Do you ever feel like you're in a battle with food that you just can't seem to win? One minute you're all in on eating healthy, and the next, you're overeating again, drowning in guilt and shame. I want you to listen closely to what I'm about to say, because it might be hard to believe. That struggle is not your fault. For years, we've been sold this idea that overeating is just a lack of willpower, that if we just tried a little harder, we'd magically have more control. But that's not what the science tells us. The real story is so much deeper, and it's wired into our biology and our psychology. Together, we're going to uncover the hidden triggers that can make you feel compelled to overeat, and I'll show you how to start rewiring your brain to finally make peace with food. Let me paint a picture for you. It's Monday morning. You're feeling motivated. You've got your healthy meals planned out for the whole week. Everything is on track. Then, Wednesday afternoon hits. An unexpected, stressful email from your boss pops up. And just like that, the only thing you can think about is that box of cookies in the pantry or the pint of ice cream in the freezer. Before you even realize what's happening, you're eating. Not just a little taste, you're eating until you feel sick. And then, like a tidal wave, the guilt washes over you. You tell yourself you've failed, that you have zero self-control. You promise to be extra good tomorrow, to restrict even more to make up for it. But all that shame and restriction just makes the cravings more intense, setting you up to repeat the exact same pattern just a few days later. If this sounds even remotely familiar, I really need you to hear this. You are not alone. This isn't a story about your personal failure. It's the story of a vicious, psychological cycle that traps millions of us, and it's fueled by a total misunderstanding of how our minds work. That feeling of being out of control around food isn't a character flaw. It's a predictable response to some powerful internal signals. And today, we're going to bring them out into the light. The reason this cycle feels so impossible to break is because you've been fighting the wrong enemy. You've been told the enemy is the food, or maybe even worse, that the enemy is you, your own lack of willpower. But the real culprits are a set of invisible forces, these deeply ingrained scripts that are running in your brain without you even knowing it. These aren't just bad habits. They're powerful survival programs and learned emotional shortcuts that operate almost completely on autopilot. Understanding what these hidden drivers are is the single most important first step to taking your power back. Because once you can see the machinery at work, you can start to take it apart. So let's look at the three main psychological triggers that are keeping you stuck. Trigger number 1, your brain's ancient survival code. Your brain has one primary job: keep you alive. To do that, it works on a really simple principle: seek pleasure and avoid pain. Thousands of years ago, this was a brilliant system. Finding high-calorie food meant survival, so our brains evolved to release a feel-good chemical called dopamine to reward us for eating it. This created a powerful drive to find those foods again. Now, let's jump to today. Your brain's ancient wiring is exactly the same, but the world around you has completely changed. We're surrounded by modern, processed foods that have been scientifically engineered to be way more rewarding than anything our ancestors ever found. These foods can trigger such a powerful dopamine rush that they can essentially hijack your brain's reward system. So when you feel stressed, anxious, or sad, feelings your brain registers as pain, that ancient survival code starts screaming for a quick fix. And it knows the fastest way to get a hit of pleasure and feel better, even for a moment, is with high-sugar, high-fat foods. This isn't a conscious choice. It's your brain running an old, outdated survival program. It's not a lack of discipline. It's a biological mismatch between your caveman brain and the modern world. Trigger number 2, your unconscious emotional toolkit. From the time you were a baby, you started building an emotional toolkit. When you were a child and you fell and scraped your knee, maybe you were given a lollipop to feel better. If you were sad, maybe a special treat was the thing that comforted you. Over time, your brain starts to forge powerful connections through a process called conditioning. The mental pathway that links "I feel bad" with "eating something yummy makes me feel better" gets stronger and more automatic. Fast forward to being an adult, and this becomes your go-to coping mechanism. Stress at work? Food. A fight with your partner? Food. Feeling bored or lonely? Food. You're not actively deciding to eat to solve your problems. Your brain is just automatically running a program that says food equals comfort. It becomes a form of self-medication for emotions you might not even realize you're having. This is emotional eating, and it isn't driven by physical hunger, but by an emotional need. Trigger number 3, the diet binge pendulum, the scarcity trap. Now, this might be the most backward-sounding trigger of all. Your very efforts to control your eating by dieting are likely causing the overeating you're trying so hard to stop. The second you tell yourself, "I can't have that, sugar is forbidden," or "that food is bad," you're creating a sense of psychological deprivation. Your brain, with its ancient survival wiring, doesn't know the difference between a diet you chose and a real-life famine. So, restriction triggers a primal fear of starvation. This does two things. First, your brain becomes obsessed with the exact foods you've forbidden. Suddenly, they're all you see. Second, it primes you to binge. When you finally give in, which is inevitable when you're fighting your own biology, that scarcity mindset kicks in. Your brain screams, "Eat as much as you can, right now. We don't know when we'll see this food again." This is what creates the classic binge-restrict cycle. You restrict, which leads to powerful cravings and a binge. The binge causes crushing guilt and shame, which makes you promise to restrict even harder tomorrow. It's a trap that feeds itself, and it's not your fault. It's the direct, predictable result of trying to restrict your way to control. So, if these triggers are so powerful and automatic, are we just stuck with them? Absolutely not. We know from neuroscience that our brains can change. We can build new pathways and overwrite these automatic responses. This isn't about fighting your brain. It's about learning to work with it. Here are 3 steps, rooted in mindful eating, to start that rewiring process. Step number 1, become a detective, not a judge. The first and most powerful thing you can do is create just a tiny bit of space between the urge and your action. When you feel that intense pull to overeat, the goal isn't to fight it with willpower. It's to get curious. Just pause, take one deep breath, and ask yourself one simple question. What am I really feeling right now? Are you actually physically hungry? Or are you feeling stressed, lonely, bored, or anxious? Learning to tell the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger is a total game changer. Don't judge what you feel, just name it. The simple act of identifying the emotion shifts you from being controlled by it to being an observer of it. And that alone begins to weaken the old, automatic connection. Step number 2, build a new toolkit. Once you've put a name on the real feeling, the next step is to consciously choose a new way to deal with it. If eating has been your only tool for coping with stress, of course you're going to keep reaching for it. The key is to build a brand new toolkit of non-food coping strategies. Make a short, simple list of things you can do to handle your specific trigger emotions. For example, if you're stressed, step outside for 5 minutes of fresh air or play one song that always calms you down. If you're lonely, send a quick text to a friend or family member. If you're bored, tidy up one small corner of your room for 10 minutes or watch a short, funny video. The secret is to have this list ready before the urge strikes. When you name the emotion, look at your list and pick one small action. Every time you do this, you're building and strengthening new connections in your brain, teaching it that there are better ways to handle life than turning to food. Step number 3, ditch the guilt and practice self-compassion. This last step is the glue that holds all of this together. The overeating cycle runs on shame and self-criticism. When you beat yourself up after you overeat, you just create more painful emotions, which then triggers the urge to soothe yourself with, you guessed it, food. Self-compassion is the antidote. It simply means treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a good friend who was struggling. It's not about making excuses. It's about recognizing that you're human and that this is a process with ups and downs. Studies show that when people are kind to themselves after an overeating episode, they feel less hopeless and are able to get back to their healthy habits much faster. So when you do overeat, and you will, because learning is a process, instead of thinking, "I'm such a failure," try telling yourself, "That was a tough moment, and I used an old tool to get through it. That's okay. I can make a different choice next time." This simple shift in your inner voice can be what finally breaks the shame cycle for good. If any of this is hitting home for you, and you've ever felt trapped in this cycle, let me know in the comments. Share one small way you're going to try to be more compassionate with yourself this week. And if you want to keep learning how to work with your brain instead of against it, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's next. For way too long, the conversation about overeating has been all about blame. But the truth is, You've been fighting a battle against your own biology and psychology without the right owner's manual. It is not, and it never has been, your fault. It's not about willpower. It's about your brain's ancient survival code, your learned emotional habits, and the trap of dieting. But you are not powerless. You have the ability to change these patterns. The journey starts not with another diet, but with a new understanding of yourself. It starts with a pause, a moment of awareness to ask what you truly need. It starts with building new tools to handle your emotions. And most importantly, it starts with giving yourself the kindness you've always deserved. Your path to finding peace with food is real, and it can begin right now.